So I took a very untraditional path. I am now a scientist in plant cell biology. And as you mentioned, I started out as only a master's degree. And I was not ready to commit myself to a PhD. Looking at different positions, I wasn't really ready to stick with one topic for the next, I don't know how many years. So I applied at the company I am now for an internship. It felt like I was going backwards, but I went for it. And from there, I grew into a technical assistant, and I am now a scientist for the last about 2 years now. So I was able to grow within the company, and they were super supportive the whole entire way. I showed my interest, showed my motivation, as mentioned. It's very necessary. So it's been a very different way and path, but it is possible. And yeah, it's been a journey.
So the transition itself was really not linear. At some point, I did a PhD because I needed a job. When I started the PhD, then I got an offer for a job. So I did the PhD and the job part-time. And I did that along all the way for maybe 5-6 years, along with postdocs, part-time. And then I started my firm, and I got the offer to lecture at the university. So I guess I'll be, walking both sides all my career.
So my decision to do a PhD was really kind of, there I was more traditional. After the master, you do a PhD in biology. There was not much thinking going on. I enjoyed doing the master thesis. I enjoy learning new things, so I do a PhD. That was kind of my thinking back in that time. During the PhD, I realized, okay, I'm not made for this wet lab, bench work, microscopy, dark room, every day, not knowing what time and whether there's sun or rain outside. But that I rather enjoy the networking, connecting people, and also learning about other sciences, topics that I'm not aware of. And especially here in Lausanne, where I did my PhD at the Université de Lausanne, having EPFL right next door, on one hand, it's fantastic to have this setup, but on the other hand, we realized we don't know each other. Back then, together with my nowadays business partner, we started a student association called Innovation Forum Lausanne at EPFL, where we really wanted to give a kind of a stage to both PhD students, postdocs, but also earlier career master students to meet each other and to talk about the science they do and to connect and to widen their network. And that's how I got into more this entrepreneurial thinking and translation of science into real world applications. And that's when it started. My sort of dream of, not the dream, but the realization, okay, PhD, the academic career is not what I want to do. I want to do something else, but I'm also not the person who wants to go and work for a big corporation. So I have to find my own way somehow.
They also had the experience in academia that it's super tough to stay in there. So it was already during the postdoc for me pretty clear I will not stay in academia. And then at first I really tried to stay in the science field basically. So it ties back to what we have discussed with being open. So I was really a bit narrow at first. So I really wanted to stay in some sort of scientific position. I applied to many positions, didn't get anything. So then I basically was getting a bit more open. I just thought, look, I need to get my foot into the industry. So this is how I ended up in a quality control position. And this is really far away from what I've done before. But that really allowed me to then first learn how the industry works. And then from there, then after some years, transition again into a more scientific role, which I have right now. So I really think the key really is to be open once you do this transition.
Google was my best friend at that time. You look for company, you look like, I would say, a website like BioHealth, in the region where you can find connection, blah, blah, blah. And you send your CV and one day it will work. It took me 6 months. And I work really in the lab for 2 different companies, a startup, then a biotech, anti-infectious prostate cancer. It took me 8 years, and this is now, at that time, that I really moved to the non-profit, I would say, organization where I'm working now since 13 years. Well, yeah. Time is flying. And it's not about having really making choice. It's really by taking opportunity when they come, definitely.
the challenges were probably that there's not a kind of a protocol on how to transition from PhD into a job, and in addition, your own company job and mandates and so on. I mean, there weren't many role models that I could just call up and ask, like, how did you do it? How did you get your first mandate? And I think what really was the most important thing is that I started, even during my PhD, building up a network. And I think it's really people connection networks that are important for your career.
It's quite easy to be tempted to stay behind your computer. Today you have so many informations online, but this is only the first step. When you are doing your, when you are marketing yourself, you first do market research. What are the companies? What are the environments that are around? But then you need to take actions. And what will pay off would be to meet people, discuss with people, even if it's proactive. You contact on LinkedIn someone that have an interesting job in a company that seems interesting as well. Reach out to them, and they might be open to grab a coffee with you and give you some insights about their job. You have a ton of alumni as well of your own university, and lots of people that are alumni are very happy to share their connection with you. So really take action, and then you can also benefit from their own network. So for me, it's really going over this applicant tracking system and so on, and really go to the human connection.
My current associate, he first called me, the first contact I had with him, he called me and I said, do you take interns? I didn't take any interns at the time. He said, can I just join you one day? I'll be quiet, I'll just follow you. And I say, okay, well. And now he's my associate, so.
Mentoring also includes role model. It's not just about having someone who gives you advice. I think actually I was talking about Joachim Lingner, he was in my PG committee. It's just people like this that you meet during your career, people that you follow their career, you like what they do, how they behave, because it's not just about the work, it's also about human relation within your work environment, how you manage people within a team, and etc. It gives you really insight on how you want to behave and how you want to apply your skills later on. So I think mentoring is not just about having one person who you can call and ask questions. So just looking around at people you've met during your career that you like. Why do you like them? What do they do that makes them so special to you? And then if you ask yourself those questions, then you can apply that to your own career.
So as I started as an intern and gradually went to a technician position and then to a scientist, this position as a scientist is in the same department as I was a technician. So now I'm the supervisor of the technicians when I was a colleague. And this was a transition which was very, very natural. They respected me and they knew my background. They had a different background, so they respected me. But just as an example, it was very, very natural, and it wasn't, you cannot use the restroom now. It's not like that at all. So as you gradually, grow as yourself, it is a natural process.
Transitioning from France to the US was the very easy thing to do for me. I had never stepped foot in the US when I moved there to live there and work there. I barely spoke English. So it was super scary at first, but culture-wise, I loved it so much. I worked in a lab where there were only people from abroad, so Japanese, 2 people from Argentina, was a German guy, I was French, so it was very, very rich. Everyone had their own culture. It was just an amazing experience.
The best as I think you would guess, the purpose of working for a non-profit is really developing drug for the one who needs drugs.
Yes.
So it's pretty obvious, and it's just rewarding every day when you do that.
Yeah.
But then it's also all about working with very different team members coming from different country, different background, and together you find a way to make something successful. So, and it's a really my daily, I would say, best thing to do, and that I love to do. And every day is different.
I'm constantly learning. I think I wrote this in my description. What keeps me driven is that I'm continuously learning within my research and everything, but also just as a person myself, I'm learning more and more every year about myself, and I think just in general, it's just a kind of the progression of life and learning. Yeah.
I don't feel like I've changed because still I learn a lot. Still I have a lack of confidence sometimes because students, ask the right questions.
My experience of keeping into academia, the most interesting part of it is the students, because they keep me on my toes and they ask questions that I've never thought about. I think that any applied scientific endeavor requires that you stay in both fields. I mean, all of us around here were spending weekends reading scientific papers. I mean, it's a necessity. Maybe it's an example that was given by my father, who was a medical doctor, and he would spend every Saturday sitting and reading scientific papers. You wouldn't want your medical doctor not to stay up to date. So I think we all have to do that. You must envision getting a job while still doing science. I mean, our job is science.
My advice to you is to be open of what life brings to you. Be driven, but really just be open for new things, and let life kind of take you where it's going.
I think there is a lot of different channels you can use when looking for a job, and you should definitely explore them all. Recruitment agencies are one of them. Sending out CVs is one of them. Of course, if you apply to jobs that are very far away from your qualification, there is very little chances you will get an answer. So targeted applications to job. Network has been mentioned as well. And your network is much broader than you think. You have, of course, your friends, your parents, the friends of your parents, your family, and so on. And you can also already build your network. And as it was also mentioned, that makes a real difference in the long term.
I would say to students sitting here, it's be humble if you switch fields, but don't be too humble. You have to learn how the industry works, so that's really have to be open to learn that, but also don't underestimate what you can bring in. You also have a lot of experience that you can bring into your new position. And even for me, I was really thinking this is like a GMP environment. Everything is super set, how things are done. But I quickly realized, no, actually I can bring in also valuable insight from my academic background, so I could improve things in the lab that I worked in just because no one ever thought about that. So really don't underestimate what you can also bring in without any industry experience.
Actually looking for a job is marketing yourself. So it's a bit of a sales process, because you are selling yourself for a job. So the process is a bit of the same when a marketing team is going to launch a product. You have to check the market, the environment, the different companies there is, and so on, to really map all of this. Talk to people in those different environments also to define your projects. You have to stay open, but you still you won't go anywhere if you don't know where to go. So you still have to have somewhat of an idea, stay open to things you haven't thought about, but somewhat of an idea of where you would like to go. On days like that are an amazing opportunity to talk to other people on what it is to work in a startup, what it is to work in a big corporation, what it is to work in quality control as a scientist, and so on. So it's a great opportunity to get more information, define the project, and based on that, explore the different channels you have to really get this first job. We are not going to spend 5 minutes looking at your CV. We are going to spend maximum 30 seconds. So we have in mind the keywords, the criteria. Okay, we are looking to recruit for this kind of profile. So I need someone that has expertise in microbiology and this kind of thing. So you're going to screen the keywords. If you see the keyword, then you're going to spend a bit more time. So keywords, rather it is if it is an artificial intelligence, or if it is a person screening your CV, it's actually going to be the same, and you really need to adapt your CV to the position you're going to apply to.
We're talking a lot about transitioning, change in the culture, in the domain, from academia to industry. I would say the more changes there are in your future, in your context, the more you should focus on things that do not change. And one thing that doesn't change is people. There are people everywhere. So learn soft skills. It's a cliche, but learn to manage people, relations, learn to assert yourself in some situations, learn to identify nice colleagues, mentors, learn to manage bullies. These, I think, are also skills that should be focused on. And I know when in some very specialized domains, we don't think about this. We're only going for technical skills and knowledge, but I really believe that extroverts are extroverts everywhere. Maybe a little bit more in the US than elsewhere, but you can learn to, manage people. And what we know is that technical or intelligence, abstract intelligence, it does predict school performances. The more you move forward, the less it predicts your success, because you are with equally intelligent people. So those who succeed, have some personality traits, have some soft skills that gives them this little advance.
So I think what like job applicants need to understand is that what is stated in a job description is often not all the real criteria of a company when they are recruiting. Tomorrow you just give me a job description on people tell me, find this person, I wouldn't be able to, well, it would take a lot of time. I need to speak to the hiring manager, understand the team environment, understand the company culture, understand what is the vision of the hiring manager to really be able to find the right person. So, yes, if you don't tick all the boxes, you can apply because some boxes are nice to have or not must have. If you tick all of the boxes, well, do apply on they will tell you if you are overqualified, but don't really overthink this because you unfortunately don't have all of the elements only with a job description. As much as I don't have all of the elements about you when I just have your CV, I need to speak with you to know who you are as an authentic person. So that works both ways. So even if you don't match the criteria, if you match the criteria, apply and you will see what are the other non-written criteria.